So today we have Jon Rudd back with us to discuss the positive and negative impact of major events. So Jon, please take it away for us.
Well, let's start with positivity because it's always the best place to start. Where an event is something that we've planned for and it's calendared and something that we understand is going to take place, it gives any of us in any walk of life, but particularly athletes and coaches, the opportunity to plan for a peak performance and a preferred and wanted outcome in that moment. And for us to be able to work, the best thing is to work backwards from, that particular event, and to say what are the expected or anticipated outcomes? What is the process that we need to undertake in the weeks leading into that? And a coach and an athlete who work well together and have got experience and a mutual understanding will more often than not get that right. And then so the positivity that comes out of something like that is huge and gives a great deal of impetus and confidence into the next stage in an athlete or a coach's life. Now, the opposite of that, of course, is true. If we have a planned event and we plan meticulously and carefully into that, and then we don't get the outcomes that we're looking for, there's obviously going to be a level of disappointment. But I do believe that disappointment and perceived failure is something that we can learn from and that we can harness both as an energy and as a motivator, but also when we review, we reflect on why maybe we didn't get the outcome. It gives athletes and coaches answers as to how they can modify and change. And I think that if we're not in a position to modify and change, we just get more of the same. We only get different outcomes if we change the process. Now, the biggest challenge, I think, is where we're expected to have a positive outcome, but something is relatively unplanned. Maybe it's dropped in our laps at the 11th hour, something that we weren't aware of. What I would say about that is, if it's unplanned for us, it's probably unplanned for most other people, including our competitors. And so we can often take something that's a challenge and turn it into a positive by saying, well, if we don't feel ready for this, then everybody else potentially doesn't feel ready for this. And we can use that to our advantage if we can actually become more ready than those people that we're aiming to race against and beat. So unplanned events aren't necessarily always a failure. Mm-hmm. And if we can turn them into something positive, the feeling of success afterwards can be significantly higher than that for which we would have potentially planned. So there's always light at the end of the tunnel. If we can try and turn any planned or unplanned event into a positive thing, a positive for now, and then obviously a positive for later.
Absolutely. I agree. And I would say that major events, especially the unplanned ones, tend to bring out the versions of us that are stripped away of anything that we could have planned for. Meaning, what version of us is left over if we have to respond and react immediately to a situation, whether that situation be positive or negative. Typically, it's out of our control. And it's a way for us to learn a little bit more about ourselves and who we are. There are people who are going to rise to the occasion, rise to unexpected pressures, and basically become superstars, excel. And there are other people who will find themselves shutting down or closing off or not rising to the occasion. And again, those unexpected things are going to happen. The things that we can't and could never have planned for are going to happen whether we want them to or not. And the planned events, the ones that are major and that we can work towards, are the ways that we can instill habits in ourselves that are going to take us through even those unplanned times.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I think that the only time that we really truly learn who we are and what our skills and attributes are when our backs are against the wall. If someone throws something at us unexpected, we learn who we are. We learn what our strengths, what our resilience may be in those circumstances. An example when an athlete swims let's say swims a great 100 freestyle in the morning, and gets out of the pool, and they're really pleased with what they've done, and the coach throws a curveball at them and says, based on that performance, you swim in the relay in 45 minutes. That situation, there are those athletes that would absolutely grab that with both hands and use that as a fuel. And there would be others that would see that as a problem, because that maybe has an impact on their recovery and coming back for a final in the afternoon or the evening. Mm-hmm. And I honestly believe that it's the athlete that takes that as the opportunity, grabs it with both hands and says, I don't see this as an issue. In fact, I see this as a celebration of what I've already achieved. And I'm going to turn what I've already done today that's allowed that opportunity to come along to make me A, a better athlete in the long term, B, do something honorable and respectful for 3 of the teammates that might be on that relay with me, and C, potentially go home with an extra medal in the pocket that I didn't expect, an hour and a half ago. So there's ways that all of that unexpectedness can be used as a great energy and a great fuel for both now and for the future.
I absolutely agree. Thank you so much for your expertise today.